Hello, and welcome to episode 390 of Sri's Sunday New York Times Read Along. My name is Neil Parekh. Sri Srinivasan and I host this show, and our guest is Sejal Desai. She's the chair of India Giving Day, chair of the India Giving Day Steering Committee, and also executive director of the Akanksha Education Fund. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and our Digimentors website. And as you can see, there's Sri, but he's not where he usually is. Sri, where are you today?
I am in Hong Kong, Neil. That's the beautiful skyline of Hong Kong. And that building you see right in the middle, that's the famous IMP designed Bank of China Tower. And it's an example of his very special, special architecture. And I'm here to do some training, some AI workshops. I'm doing them all across Asia. I was already in Singapore, and now I'm in Hong Kong, and then I leave for Colombo in 2 days. I want to welcome everybody. This is the Sunday New York Times Read Along. We do this every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. It's 8:30 p.m. in Hong Kong now. So this is very discombobulating for me to be on the air right now with all of you, but so happy to have you from around the world. Please tell us where you're watching from. Please tell us how your Sunday is going. And we are going to discuss the news. We're going to look at the paper in that Neil has in DC, in the DC area. But I do want to show you that I have the Sunday New York Times, Sunday edition, the international edition. Many of you will remember that the New York Times and the Washington Post together used to publish the International Herald Tribune, and then it was called the Global New York Times, and now it's called the New York Times International Edition. And on the front page, of course, is the war, and it says a widening front, and the US president raises the ante is another headline here. These are actually 2 days old headlines because this was the Saturday Sunday paper. It's already Sunday night here in Asia. And Russia sees its influence wane as its allies suffer. That's the lead story in the paper. Folks, tell us where you are. We have so much to talk about, including the very special India Giving Day coming up on Friday, March 13th. We are going to be talking about all the ways in which you can support India Giving Day. And on India Giving Day, we have India Giving Day Live, which is hosted by Alex Count, former guest on the show of the India Philanthropy Alliance, Manisha Bharti of Pratham USA, Neha Gupta of Teach for India, and I will be joining the celebration as well. We have special guests Vijay Amritraj, M.R. Rangaswamy, Deepak Raj, Ishita Ganguly, and India Giving Day ambassadors, youth leaders, and so much more. 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time will be the show, but India Giving Day, of course, is the entire day. And in fact, it started a week ago. There's a period of 2 weeks before, 1 week before, 1 week after, where the donations count towards India Giving Day, the totals that are raised to support 51 charities, nonprofits doing some wonderful work in India. And you'll meet Sejal Desai in just a minute. Let me just say hello to a few people watching. Jonathan's watching from the foggy East Village. Deborah is watching from Fort Lauderdale. Patricia is watching from New York and says, Happy Women's Day. That's right. Happy International Women's Day. We are so happy to see there's been so much coverage of International Women's Day, but we also think of the women in the war zones, including in Iran, in other parts of the Middle East, in Ukraine, and in Beirut. We've seen in Lebanon, there are attacks there as well. So we want to talk about that. Sudha Parekh, who is Neil's mom, is watching, and this is his weekly chance to say hello to his mom. Hi, Neil. You can say hi to your
Hi,
mom.
Mom. Mom, how are you? I'm so glad that you're back home in Hastings. She had been in Florida for the summer, for the winter rather, and just got back this week. So, Mom, always happy to have you watching the show, and glad that you made it back. I'm particularly glad that we're not getting more snow. I think last year when she came home, there was a big snowstorm just a few days after, so didn't really work out in that sense. But Mom, thank you for watching. And let's see who else we have. Mary C. Curtis watching from a too warm Charlotte, North Carolina. I agree, Mary. It's a much warmer this morning than I would have expected. And Ken Fisher is saying hello from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Respect to India Giving Day. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. Um, we have Pradnya Haldapur watching from Silver Spring, not that far from where I live in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, not the Department of Motor Vehicles, as Sri used to think before we schooled him on that. Doug Levy watching from just outside San Francisco at 5:37 a.m. Pacific time, a longtime radio hand. This is not an issue for him getting up so early, but with the time change, it makes it even more challenging. And Meenakshi is watching, and Meenakshi is from the India Giving Day team. She's sharing the link on LinkedIn for people to learn more about India Giving Day. Thank you, Meenakshi. Great job there. And Deborah Kerr is watching. She's trying the LinkedIn link today. And Deborah, we'd be curious to see what your experience is like. From our vantage point, what I would say is that there are more people watching on Facebook. There's more engagement there in terms of the community. And sometimes when we put links into LinkedIn, they don't always show up as URLs during the live show. But we'd be curious to see what your experience is like. And Doug Levy says, perfectly normal time to be up. It's also a good time to charge up my car. Rates are lower before 6 a.m. Interesting note there, Doug. Let's go ahead and bring back Sri Srinivasan. Sri, it's great to have you, and it'll be interesting. We're going to talk about India Giving Day. We'll bring on Sejal in just a few minutes, and then, of course, after that, I'll lead the discussion of the paper, and I get to draw you into the conversation from time to time, so as if you were a guest. So that'll be interesting. We just need your audio, Sri.
One of the things you notice is that the paper is only one section, the international paper, unlike all the sections we have in the U.S. So that's interesting. And this is from the Foreign Correspondents Club, FCC, in Hong Kong, a legendary place where both journalists and non-journalists come together for events and things. So I did a training on AI for the Foreign Correspondents Club, and they give everybody who comes there can get access to a free copy of the New York Times, which is pretty cool. And we can see that. Folks, we have so much to talk about. The war has escalated since we were together a week ago. One of the things that happened in just the last 20 hours or so is that one of the Iranian leaders apologized for attacking the neighborhood and attacking the other Gulf countries. And so we thought that was the end of the attacks on places like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, etc. And then it turns out that there was a new wave of attacks because the IRGC said that leader had actually was mistaken and had misspoken when he said that they wouldn't attack. So this is a very fluid situation. My younger brother lives in Dubai, and he and the family have been trying to leave, but they did not want to take the seats of a family that was maybe perhaps trying to reunite and get out of Dubai for other reasons. They just wanted to leave, but they're together. He, his wife, and my nephew are together. So they've been waiting to leave, even though they could have gotten seats earlier. Now everything is in shambles in terms of the flights out of Dubai. Folks, tell us where you are. Tell us what you're thinking today about the news, about the things happening in the world. Ying Chan is watching. Welcome to Hong Kong. She says Ying is legendary journalist, so well connected around Asia. And Ying is at Hong Kong University, and HKU is the reason I'm here in Hong Kong teaching AI workshops, both at the university, but with allied institutions around the city. We have also people who are watching right now on Instagram, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and on Digimentors.group. Everyone, please check out our archives. We have some fantastic shows, just as today's is. Pradnya is watching, and she says, Iran seemed to have a basic project management problem. At the same time, I would say we are seeing horrific photographs of and video of kind of the streets of Tehran on fire from U.S. attacks on oil depots, Israeli and U.S. attacks on oil depots, and that's just kind of apocalyptic scenes that you're seeing there right now. And we see Peg is watching from Minneapolis.
Peg, thank you so much for joining us. Peg works with India Giving Day and will be a huge part of the show on Friday, working behind the scenes. Peg, thank you for all of your work to make India Giving Day a success. Before we jump into the show, Sri, we should pay some bills, as it were, and thank our sponsors. So we want to give a quick shout out to Muckrack and Graphic History Company. Thank you so much. Muckrack has been a longtime sponsor of the show. Graphic History Company joined us in the last year. Thank you for all of your support. And as a reminder, this show is produced by Digimentors, the social and digital consulting firm that Sri Srinivasan started with his good friend Andrew Lee. And I'm proud to be the Vice President of Events and Communications. We do social and digital marketing events and programs like this, trainings and workshops. We also do a lot of work around AI. That's what Sri was talking about earlier. That's why he's in Hong Kong right now. But thank you again for joining us. Sri, I want to ask you before we dig in, are you getting a lot of questions about U.S. foreign policy at your events and in the informal times? Or what kind of reception are you getting coming from America?
Yeah, I think for the last 10 years, if you're an American abroad, you've got to answer for everything that's happening in the United States. And during the first Trump administration, we saw that, and then not so much during the Biden administration. But now, certainly with this war, so many questions being asked, and you kind of have to defend, or you're asked to defend what's happening. And it is indefensible in so many ways what's happening in the US. And that's one of the things that we kind of talk a lot about in my newsletter. And I'd love everyone to subscribe, srinet.substack.com, srinet.substack.com. There's also a LinkedIn version. Before we bring Sejal on, I thought we would just show you something and my adventure getting to Singapore was I was going on the world's longest flight, and then right at the beginning, in the first minute, the flight that was already 19 minutes and was going to be 19 hours and 10 minutes became longer because our plane clipped the tail, as you can see there, of the Spirit Airlines. That's what that circle is. And we were stuck in Newark for a while. The story went viral around the world. Just tells you there is so much nervousness already about flying with the war, and something like this happened, then you really question, should you be getting on a plane? And because I have this commitment to doing these workshops in various countries, obviously I did get on the plane, Neil, but it was nerve-wracking. What is the longest flight that you've been on?
The longest flight would be for when we went to Dubai 2 years ago now, I think, almost, for a conference that we were working. That was certainly the longest. I still remember going to India when I was younger, hopping from New York to London. I think we stopped in the Gulf and then to India before we started doing these long haul flights.
Here's a comment from Mary C. Curtis, our great friend watching from North Carolina. Everyone check out her Equal Time podcast as well as her commentary. So interesting to see 3 former presidents, Democratic presidents, Kamala Harris, and leaders pay tribute to Jesse Jackson and the difference he made in our lives. And we paid tribute to Reverend Jesse Jackson last week, 2 weeks ago on the episode where we talked about his his passing. Pradnya is tagging various folks. That's what you can do, folks. Tag your friends on various channels. They can watch us live or later. John says, the longest flight I've been on is one to Korea, which is also certainly long. And here is a comment from Anomaly 1970, 15 hours straight from Houston to Auckland. And Sudha says, I'm glad you're safe. Thank you, Auntie. That means a lot. I think we're ready to celebrate India Giving Day, the start of it, with our friend Sejal Desai, who is going to join us. We are talking about this very important event that's coming up on Friday, March 13th. We celebrate the occasion where we're bringing together 51 different nonprofits as they are raising money on this one day over a couple of weeks to mark that period. But of course, this is to make sure that all kinds of charities that are doing every topic that you could be interested in, whether it's jobs, education, food, all of that's being covered. And so, Neil, let's bring Sejal on.
Sejal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us about where you are right now and how you're doing. I know you're very busy with India Giving Day coming up.
Yeah, so I am tuning in from Dallas, Texas, and it's finally bright outside. When we got on earlier, it was dark thanks to daylight savings. But it is a busy 2 weeks leading up to India Giving Day, but an exciting 2 weeks as well. So glad to be on this show talking about it.
And you, as you said, the clock has already started a week ago, so it becomes a 2-week period. So explain, please, if you can, how it works and what people can do. They can, of course, go to India Giving Day, and they'll see the range of nonprofits. We will talk in detail about yours, which is Akanksha Education Fund. But if you can give us the overall picture, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So India Giving Day is a global day of giving dedicated to supporting nonprofits working in India that have a US presence. It brings together donors, organizations, and the diaspora for one concentrated day of collective generosity, right? And we, of course, while India Giving Day is on March 13th, we have an early Giving Day period, which started off on March 1st. So really, anytime now, you are welcome to go to indiagivingday.org, find a nonprofit of or a cause that is of interest to you, and give online, or multiple causes that resonate with you, and give. And the idea was really simple, right? When many people give on the same day, the impact multiplies, and instead of hundreds of organizations fundraising in isolation, India Giving Day sort of created this one shared platform and moment where generosity towards India became visible, hopefully contagious, and powerful, right? And so when we started this back in 2023, the impetus behind it was to create this energy around giving to India, and also create awareness of multiple organizations that were doing incredible work on the ground, and but also offer up to donors a set of organizations that were vetted by the India Philanthropy Alliance, which is the sponsoring organization of India Giving Day, and the organization that manages India Giving Day. There's a team, Peg and Minakshi and others are actually tuned in here, and they work very hard to vet the organizations that are on the platform. And so really it just provides you with a group of now growing, even more than when we started. We had about 25 organizations in the first year, and we're up to 51 this year, organizations that people can give to.
I see Alex Counts is watching. He's put on indiagivingday.org. Everyone, please go to the site. You can make donations today. That'll count toward the total of India Giving Day on Friday, that's coming up, Friday, March 13th. And Alex is watching in Hyattsville, Maryland. I thought he had several other titles, but I didn't know he was also president of the Sejal Desai fan club. I'll give you a chance to give him a shout out here now, Sejal.
I'm sorry, Shri, I missed your question there.
I said I'd give you a chance to give a shout out to Alex.
Oh, of course. No, I think it's a mutual fan club for us. And so we, Alex has been an incredible leader, of India Philanthropy Alliance and India Giving Day. And I appreciate that he's he's giving me this shout out, but I've been a long time fan of the work he's done from the early days of the Grameen Foundation, then to the American India Foundation, now India Philanthropy Alliance. And so India Giving Day would not have happened without his leadership and the support of many others. And so I'm glad that I get to chair the steering committee, but really the fire behind it all is Alex. So thank you, Alex, for that. Yeah.
Before we get to Patricia's comments, Sri, I want to give my own shout out to Alex because he's making my job and actually making my job a lot easier. Usually when we're doing the show, I'm also trying to drop in links to the relevant organizations and the websites, etc. And I was furiously copying and pasting, and then I looked up and Alex's comment was there. So thank you, Alex, for helping out, and of course, Meenakshi in LinkedIn. I think I could just sit back and relax a bit, Sri, and let them do the audience engagement, right? What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. There's good practice for them because
yes.
we're doing the India Giving Day Live that's coming up on March 13th from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll have a live show with fantastic guests. Sejal, we kind of think of it as a kind of telethon and a chance to just kind of focus people's attention. It's a 24-hour day. It's a 2-week giving period. But when you have a live show, there's something that just makes people pay attention, and that's important. Let's keep seeing what people are saying here. And Patricia, who had asked how to give, now got your feedback. So she's saying awesome for that. Meanwhile, Pradnya is going to LinkedIn to share the show with her friends. So everybody do that, please. And Alex says there was an India Giving Day concert fundraiser in Germantown, Maryland yesterday with around 550 attendees. The beneficiary was Ek Kadam Aur, which benefits blind children in India. Beautiful idea, and I'm glad that they were able to do it. Meenakshi is also showing all the causes that you can see there, indiagivingday.org/causes. And again, Pradnya, who is our champion sharer, she goes out and tags these people on LinkedIn so they can see this live or later. This will be playing on all the channels as soon as we are done. One of the things that struck me, Sejal, is how cooperative all of these nonprofits are. If you're on the outside, you would think that here is a set of nonprofits going after money in a limited pool, of several million people in the US, as well as, Indians and non-Indians give and support, obviously, but, there's kind of a niche topic. But instead of competing, you are cooperating, you're working together. Talk about that, please.
Yeah, and to me, that is actually the best part of sort of the spirit of India Giving Day. It was one of, I would say, the founding principles behind, or the values, when we wanted to get India Giving Day started. And I think, as organizations, we were guilty of this very competitive, limited thinking, right, around the fact that there was a scarcity of donors and people wouldn't share, and many of us really come to this with an abundance mindset, and really wanted to see how we can get people to work together, to support one another, to collaborate, to actually become spokespersons for each other's organizations. And I think over the last 4 years, we've seen that spirit really take hold. And we actually just did this event in Dallas 2 days ago. And this is something we've done now this was the 4th year in a row, where multiple organizations come together to celebrate India Giving Day. Here in Dallas, we had about 7 to 8 organizations that participated alongside us. And we had, several people come and join and learn more about these organizations. But what was wonderful about it was that once you finished your own 3-minute presentation, people were actually encouraging others to give to them, but also to several other organizations on India Giving Day. And that just is such a beautiful thing about this collaborative spirit and this mindset that India Giving Day has now instilled in all of the organizations that are working on it. And I think, I hope that transports over also to the donors, right? So I'm sure, you might have a favorite cause or a favorite nonprofit when you come onto the platform, but I hope you will stay a little bit longer on the India Giving Day website and learn about a few other organizations, either in that same sector or others, and let your generosity, in a way, kind of find new ways to give or to learn about other organizations where you can. And so we also have something called India Development Fund on the India Giving Day website. So if you show up on India Giving Day's website and you want to give to everybody because, oh my gosh, they're all amazing organizations, you can make a donation to the India Development Fund, and Alex and team will distribute that across all the organizations on the platform. So in a way, you can walk away feeling like you've contributed to support many of these. And so, yeah, but Shri, thank you for that question. I think, to me, success is seeing that incredible collaborative spirit that India Giving Day brings out in all of us.
That's amazing. Talk about the $100,000 in matching gifts, prizes, event grants. There's so much you've done from the early days of a couple of years ago to where this is now such a sophisticated setup and able to help so many people.
Yeah. And so, so I, as I mentioned earlier, I'm actually in Dallas, Texas, and India Giving Day in part was actually inspired by North Texas Giving Day, which is a long-standing giving day here in the North Texas region, where, again, when we got started the first year, and I say we because I used to work at the Communities Foundation of Texas, where North Texas Giving Day got started. And, year one, we raised about 4 million, and now, 15 plus years later, the organization raises over $80 million in a day of giving. But one of the key factors early on when we got started was having sponsors and supporters that were providing matching funds or funds for prizes, right? That created this, fun spirit of giving. And I'm glad that, we've also at India Giving Day been able to raise money from sponsors and supporters like the Ford Foundation, MacArthur Foundation, Atmic Philanthropy, Avistar Capital, and several founding sponsors like the Sejal Family Foundation and others who have been, whose support allows us to have these kinds of matching funds and prize money available, so the donors' generosity can get, doubled or tripled, depending on when you give, how much that helps the organizations. So it sort of creates some excitement, both for the donors, but also for us as organizations participating in it.
Folks, that's Sejal Desai. I'm Sri Srinivasan. Neil's going to join us in a minute. There he is. We are talking about and celebrating India Giving Day, which is coming up on Friday, March 13th. And we do this New York Times read along where we talk about the news and have fabulous guests. And we are going to be reading the paper. I'm in Hong Kong. Neil's outside DC. I have kind of a 2-day-old newspaper, but the headline here is clearly about everything that's going on in the Middle East. Let's talk a little bit more about what's happening. Alex says the Dallas event is the longest running India Giving Day event, thanks to the Akanksha Education Fund and Ty Dallas for always being behind it. We have a comment from our YouTube platform. Great idea and great organization. Sharing on my LinkedIn as well as on other social media platforms. Unfortunately, Anomaly 1978 had to run, but thank you for doing that. This is what everyone can do to support. What I tell people, Sejal, is if you can't afford to give, you can give attention to these causes by just sharing and posting, letting people know that this exists and this is coming up. I think that's really important. Meenakshi says our events are being held across the nation and online, and you can visit the events page to see what events are taking place around the country. We're looking at the screen right now. We see multiple causes: animal welfare, community engagement, disability services, education, environment, health and wellness, livelihood development, maternal and child health, poverty and hunger, seniors, women, youth. One of the nice things that you see here, and this will help people understand India, Sejal, that we always think it's all about poverty alleviation, which is so important. but we're doing so many different things. And the way to address the poverty in India is not just through direct intervention there, but in many other areas, topics, and certainly the work that you do in education is important.
Absolutely. And India is such a, I mean, as you know, such a rich and diverse, country. And I also think about it as very diverse in its needs, right? Because of the large population, because of, uh, uh, just the needs that the country has, while there's incredible opportunity, right? And so I sort of, when I go to India, I'm always inspired by, even if especially when I walk into one of our schools, while our students are living in incredible poverty, there is so much hope, and there is excitement, and there's hunger. And I think, I always talk to our donors about, supporting and fueling that, because there is incredible opportunity, right? And so yeah, and that's what India Giving Day allows you to do. And I will say that, the beauty about giving on a retail giving platform like India Giving Day is that, you can give $5 or you can give $5,000 or more, right? Like, it gives you the opportunity. So I would say everybody can afford to give on the India Giving Day platform, because, if you even just contributed what it costs you to get a Starbucks today, that is also meaningful.
So we welcome the big gifts, but we also welcome everyone just contributing. I think that makes participation is part of the goal here, and get people involved. Tell us about this page that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, so this is our Akanksha Education Fund Giving Day page. This time our campaign is called Playground of Possibilities. And really, so, just to sort of back up, besides being the chair of the India Giving Day steering team, my day job is that I'm the executive director of Akanksha Education Fund. We are an education nonprofit, 35 years old, and really, we operate on the belief that every child should have the knowledge, skills, and resources they need to lead empowered lives. And the way that manifests itself in terms of the work we do is that we run 27 public-private partnership schools in Mumbai, Pune, and Nagpur for children from low-income communities. Our approach is a little different than several other education nonprofits. And again, all of our work is needed, across India. But our approach is a very strong depth-based approach. We work with children and families for a 20-year period, from age 3 to 23. With our line of sight is to pull them out of generational poverty by providing them access to, a strong, high quality, holistic education, and access to opportunity. So, our schools are innovative. They're in English. They provide multiple experiences, like you would think about, your kids going to schools here. We provide an excellent education on the ground in India. But then after our students leave our school environment, we recognize that these are first generation college goers and need the continued support. And so we have a school to work transition, program as well. And where, we support them with financial aid, make sure they have a compassionate adult in their life, make sure they have continued access to academic support and access to the world of work through internships and various exposure, so that they can have a meaningful transition. So our campaign this time is called Playground of Possibilities, and we, again, we're welcoming donations of any amount to support the incredible work we are doing on the ground. Yeah.
We're so grateful for people like you who have given their careers to this kind of work. Sejal, tell us a little bit about your own background. You weren't always in the nonprofit space. You were in a very different arena, and then you transitioned to this. So talk a little bit about that, and what has driven you to work in nonprofits and nonprofits for India.
Yeah, no, and thank you for that question. So I consider myself sort of truly a product of both countries, India and the US. I'll do a quick, backstory and then fast forward. But I was born in Mumbai, about 5 months old when I moved to Chicago, and then lived in Chicago and Springfield, Illinois. But by the time I was 8, and with a little stint in the middle as well, I moved back to India. After my grandfather passed away and my grandmother wanted us to head back. And so then there were 20 years that I spent in India, my schooling, college. My first 7 years of work were also in India, in Mumbai, and so I'm a passionate, Bombay girl, if you will. But obviously, if you live in Bombay, and in fact, the building I lived in was right across from a slum, and so the juxtapositioning of the haves and the have-nots is quite stark, and so I always was very conscious of what I had, even growing up in a middle-class family in India, I was very conscious of what I had and what, folks across the street from me did not. And so, and my parents and family also instilled the idea of being actively engaged. And so, while my career started in accounting and finance, consulting, etc., moved over into venture capital and cross-border M&A. I always had a parallel path in the nonprofit sector as a volunteer. From my early days in India. And then I moved to the US by way of marriage, back in 1997. And when I embraced the Dallas community, I think one of the things that I really wanted to do was stay connected to the nonprofit sector. And so I started volunteering in the Dallas area as well, alongside the work I was doing. And slowly that hands-on volunteering became, you start serving on committees and advisory roles, etc. And I found myself getting pulled into really loving that work as well. And so around the time I turned 40, I like to say that I had a midlife clarity moment. And I transitioned from the for-profit sector into the not-for-profit sector, and initially started my own social enterprise, which was again at the intersection of US and India. And then I worked at the Communities Foundation for a decade, which was incredible. And now for 5 years, I've been, back in the US-India sector, leading Akanksha Education Fund here. And so it's been a wonderful journey, and it's a passionate journey. So I absolutely enjoyed the work I did in venture capital, investment banking, and all of that. And I think that's prepared me for a lot of the work I'm doing now. But this is, now, working in the social sector at the intersection of US India is really where my heart is. And the great thing is you get to meet and work with incredible people, or you see the best side of people, right, when you're working in this space. So, yeah.
Sure. Folks, here, that's Sejal Desai in Dallas. I'm Sri Srinivasan in Hong Kong. Neil Parekh will join us in a moment. He is in the DC area. She's with the Akanksha Foundation. It's doing such important work in education. And Peg says, I love that midlife clarity. I was going to say the same thing. I'd never heard of midlife clarity. I'm going to use that instead of midlife crises that so many of us have. I think your story is inspiring, Sejal, and thank you for doing that. I'm going to actually ask you to just turn around and pick out a couple of those photographs behind you. Tell us who's in those pictures and what are we looking at?
So I have to pick up my grandmother. So the reason she's behind me is she was always very supportive. My grandmother lived to 111. So my ba, is a phenomenal force. And she passed away a couple of years ago, but lived to 111. She went through the Spanish flu, the pandemic, and much more. She was probably one of the smartest and wisest people I knew. Hadn't been to school ever, but she'd read every book you could think of, and just was an incredible force. And so she's always going to be right there behind me. And she's one of the reasons I'm also quite involved with a lot of issues around seniors and elder care, etc. This is a picture of my dear friends from school in Mumbai. We'd gotten together.
Hold it right up to the camera so we can see it.
Sorry. There you go. So that's Shubhada, Anjali, and Manisha, my close friends from school in Mumbai. This was when we got together a few years ago, and now we're heading to Scotland, for a reunion in a few months. These are two incredible women, and especially because we're celebrating International Women's Day as well. This is Karen and Cynthia. We collectively started a giving circle in the Dallas area called Orchid Giving Circle, along with initially another 15 women, but now it's grown to 100. It's a group of women who support the causes that impact the Asian community in the North Texas region. We're otherwise considered a model minority, but people lose sight of the needs that the Asian community also has. And so not only did we create awareness around that, but also started this incredible organization over 10 years ago. And we've raised well over $1 million to support organizations. So anyway, and then this is the one last picture, but this is Stacey Malcolmson and Pam Busby. I serve on the board of the Senior Source, which is a Dallas-based organization supporting seniors in Dallas. And this is my year of being the chair on the board. And so anyway, that's a special event picture there.
How cool was that? Thank you for sharing all these stories. Yeah. This is so lovely. And salute to your grandma. Yes. 111, very rare in India, and she lived, as you said, through the influenza of the crisis of 1920 all the way to 2020 plus. So that's great. Alex says, love that, a midlife clarity moment. The India Philanthropy Alliance organizations often have people that made mid-career shifts into mission-driven work. That is so important when people are able to do that. And Miriam's watching from Hell's Kitchen. Welcome, Miriam. And our friend Ron Thomas, who travels the world, is based in Dubai, has gotten out and is in Verona, New Jersey. Ron, my thoughts are with you, your friends and family, anyone in the Middle East. As I said, my own brother and family are there. They're safe now, but everything can change in a moment. And we are certainly paying attention. I just want to bring on stage here just to look at the New York Times. On the front page, we're seeing Iran says it's close to naming a new supreme leader as U.S.-Israeli strikes grow. Iran could retrieve uranium at the site U.S. bombed last year. Officials say in war's first week, a punishing military campaign with no coherent endgame. So much going on in the news right now. And we always want to talk about how we can help understand and interpret the news. That's why we do this show. We've been doing it for a long time. Neil is back. Neil, we are seeing so many people commenting from around the world. Tell us, as you're watching, folks, where you are. Tell us how your Sunday is going. It's so interesting, Neil. You folks are in the beginning of your day. I'm here 12 hours ahead exactly in Hong Kong. It's dark out. And I'll just show everyone the Hong Kong skyline. That building, I said earlier, is that striking building with the lines is the IMPay Design Bank of China Tower. And this is a city that is so vibrant, so exciting, part of Greater China now. We know the one country, two systems. And I've been learning a lot being here just a couple of days now. But the excitement, the energy you see, Neil, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, feels so different from the United States. Unfortunately, at this moment, not just with the war, but with everything happening, there's a different energy that you see and a kind of optimism that they have here, though, of course, everyone's confused about what's going to happen here as well. And I'd love both of you to reflect on that. Neil, we'll start with you to reflect on that, on those thoughts, and then we'll have Sejal also jump in.
Sure. Sri, as you were mentioning that, I was wondering, we are at a point in American history and in our politics where we are very concerned about the future. There are a number of people are talking about, throwing out the idea that, if with the war in Iran and with other things going on, would that be a pretense for, impacting the elections in the fall? It's something that President Trump has talked about. He's talked about a third term, et cetera. So I'm actually wondering, and Ying would actually be a great person to comment on this, whether this moment in kind of the anxiety that we're having here is similar to just before the Chinese takeover of Hong Kong, before when the British handed it over, not knowing exactly where it was going to go, or even after they took over, because I think there was a period of time where, before they clamped down, before they really started stifling democracy. Hopefully, no one else can hear that over on your side, Sri, in terms of in the room, etc. But I wonder if it's a similar type of anticipation that they were feeling. What was that, 20 years ago?
Yeah, 1997 was when the
right?
transition happened, and there is also here. I think they're feeling that with the troubles in the Middle East, places like Dubai, which have become kind of epicenters of global finance, trade, tourism, are going to be subdued a little bit, if not worse than that, and that'll give opportunities for people to look at places like Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, et cetera, and see if there's going to be new investments and new things happening here. And of course, Neil, the other part is everybody's talking about AI and the impact AI is having all in everything from jobs to the media and so much more. Folks, this is the Sunday New York Times Read Along. I'm Sri in Hong Kong. That's Neil in the DC area. Our guest today is Sejal Desai, who's in Dallas, talking about India Giving Day. And we're going to get to the newspaper in just a few minutes. We have a slightly longer show this time, Neil. We usually go about an hour, but because we have Sejal, we're going to closer to the old format that we used to have, where we go about 90 minutes. We're so grateful to everyone who supported the show for 10 years, including our friends at Scroll.in, one of India's most important independent news sites. We're simulcast on their channels, including the 200. They have hundreds of thousands of subscribers on their channels. So we're very happy to have their audience with us. And so if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Tell us what you're seeing on your TV screens. One of the things I'll never forget, Neil, a journalist named Riz Khan, who used to be at CNN, then worked at Al Jazeera. He would say that what the difference between CNN and Al Jazeera is that CNN covers the rockets being launched. Al Jazeera covers where the rockets land. And that was when there was more clarity about where the rockets were being launched from and where they were going. Now they're sort of everywhere. And we shouldn't forget there's still death happening in Ukraine with a full-fledged war going on there, as well as big issues in Venezuela, thanks to U.S. intervention there. And as of yesterday, Trump has started talking about regime change in Cuba, as if there wasn't enough going on in the world. Neil, you also have a very good mailing list that people can join by writing to you, neil@digimentors.group. What they'll get is the night before the show goes live, the topics we'll be covering. Often we have some very special exclusive PDFs that we can give to our audience, thanks to our friends at the New York Times, as well as who our guests are. And you always pull that together so well. So thank you, Neil, for doing that. And everybody, please sign up for his mailing list. You will find that helpful. Deborah is on LinkedIn, and the sound is clear and the picture is good, and the comments are coming through, says Deb. Deb's former guest on the show. She had just been to Antarctica when she came back and talked to us about it. And we love it when people are on all these different channels: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, as well as on digimentors.group.
And Sri, while we're talking about LinkedIn, I just want to mention that we had a few comments earlier. Sometimes LinkedIn doesn't show us the name and profile picture of the person watching, but someone watching from Singapore says, "Thanks for your persistent and consistent efforts, Sri." That's Edmund watching you with the Singapore Education Consulting Group, and wanted to, I assume that he may have been at one of your events or connected through other folks in Singapore. But Edmund, thank you for watching and appreciate your support.
Thank you so much. Everybody who's watching, we appreciate this. We do this. People, Neil, ask us, why is this about the New York Times? That's because it's the paper that I subscribe to in New York City. And what we have done this, the Khaleej Times in Dubai, you've gone to Toronto and done it in the Toronto Globe and Mail. We went together to the home of the deputy editor of the Washington Post and did a Washington Post read along. We recently did a Washington Post tribute to the Post as we knew it, with the great kind of horrible layoff situation that happened there. 300 journalists were lost. Look at where Deborah is. She's at the Swimming Hall of Fame for the diving competition to begin, which is down in Florida. It's a good place for it. And Alex says, sadly, people are also dying in Gaza and the West Bank. Our civilization needs to evolve to a place where war is obsolete. Thank you, Alex. Alex has spent his life working in outside of America as well, helping Muhammad Yunus with Grameen Bank and the important work that they have done. Bangladesh is gone through a transition, including just fresh elections that took place. So there's so much going on in the world. We call this a newsy time, and there's so much to talk about. Let's bring Sejal back on, and then we'll go to the newspaper after this. Sejal, thanks for listening. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the various strands we touched.
Yeah, so when we talk about conflict, right, I think it's easy to frame it in terms of geopolitical, terms, missiles and alliances and strategy, etc. But behind these, right, there are millions of ordinary people whose lives are shaped by decisions far above them. And what strikes me, is that both sides feel, in this situation, right, existentially threatened, and which kind of is what makes the escalation even more dangerous, if you will. But ultimately, I think to Alex's point, right, the question isn't just about military outcomes. It's really whether the international community can find ways to break cycles of retaliation before they continue to define the future of a region. And so, no matter all the countries, you talked about, and I was actually in Cuba last year in January as well. And, you sort of want to, want leaders to be thinking about really, the future of these regions, and hopefully they won't get defined by war. And being in education, I just sometimes feel the best way for change in anything is to provide a good, strong, solid educational foundation, and I just hope that that's where we invest our time and efforts and money, whether it's here in the US or it's anywhere abroad. But wanted to just mention that. And then the other thing, since you pointed out to the IMPI building a couple of times, we in Dallas have several IMPI structures that are phenomenal. But one of them in particular, our Dallas City Hall, is in the news currently quite a bit. And so because there's a controversy around whether the City Hall is going to remain in that building or not. And so there's a lot of emotion around that currently in Dallas as well. But so I just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you for bringing those connections. These are the kinds the different connections we're going to talk about on India Giving Day Live, which is coming up on Friday, March 13th. It's a 3-hour show. Neil's going to share the card so that we can all look at it together. There's an exciting program. So many different special guests are going to be joining us. Alex Count is going to be hosting it, along with Manisha Bharti of Pratham USA, Neha Gupta of Teach for India, and I'm going to join for an hour. Delighted to be part of this. Vijay Amritraj, the most famous Indian tennis player of his time, philanthropist, movie maker, actor, will be joining us. Emma Rangaswamy of In Diaspora, an organization that's doing incredible work bringing the diaspora together, and they're hosting their forum and their Global AI Summit in Bangalore, in India, March 22nd to 25th. So anybody who can get to India or is already in India and can get to Bangalore, please check out indiaspora.org. You will love the programming that's there. Deepak Raj, great philanthropist who's involved in so many good causes, is going to be a guest on the show. Ishita Ganguly, singer, a philanthropist, great talent, is going to be with us, as well as India Day Giving ambassadors, youth leaders, and more. And this is all sponsored by Parachute Donate. So we're grateful to Parachute Donate for being with us. And this is 3 to 6 p.m. Mark your calendars. This coming Friday, March 13th. It's going to be a kind of telethon for everyone to understand and give to India and to think about giving to India. It's a 2-week period where everything given via to these organizations will count. So please check out indiagivingday.org. indiagivingday.org will be live on multiple channels. And John says he has to log out now. Great show, great cause. Thank you. Thank you for watching. And Pradnya says, looking forward to tuning into India Giving Day live. Neil, over to you.
That's great. Thank you, Sri. So what we're going to do is switch to the New York Times, and I'm going to switch cameras, and then I'll bring Sri in as a guest and ask his comments as well as Sejal's. So this is going to be a back to our regular programming in terms of the New York Times.
Again, folks, this is the international edition of the New York Times. This is the Saturday, Sunday edition, so it's about 2 days old. But here on the front page is a story, an example of what Sejal was talking about, that players with a lot of money, influence, do things, and it affects everybody else in the world, right? So a crypto baron has big plans. Residents are alarmed. Project would create a libertarian paradise on the island of Nevis. This is a beautiful place, beautiful part of the world in the Caribbean. And the Caribbean island of Nevis is the proposed site for Destiny, a semi-autonomous enclave. The project is being driven by Olivier Janssens, a cryptocurrency tycoon. And this is the kind of thing that on paper to wealthy people sounds great, but it's the folks under who live their everyday lives who are going to be affected. And there, the front page you can see is very different. So Neil, take it away.
Absolutely. So the front page here, Sri, Sunday, March 8th, the display photo is the remains of 6 Army Reserve soldiers killed in Iranian drone attack in Kuwait arriving at Dover Air Force Base. This was a big controversy earlier, I think, with President Trump not attending the ceremonies when the soldiers came home. But you can see him right in the back of the picture. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's his red tie and hat. I will say that, from a fashion sense, I've never understood wearing a baseball hat and a formal suit, but that is our president. The lead story, Trump tramples a line, warn faint on war. A major escalation of presidential power. And that's a news analysis by Charlie Savage. And that's the headline over there. Let's see what we have below the fold. The colleges respond, upswing in disability diagnoses, accommodations elicit debate on campus. So that's a big issue, Sri, in terms of in the U.S. I remember seeing articles about people abusing that system or purportedly abusing that system, where they're getting diagnosed, for example, with ADHD, which is something I was diagnosed with about a year and a half ago now, in order to get extra time on tests and extra accommodations. And the question is whether or not it's real. And I can't speak, obviously, to every situation, but I can tell you that ADHD is real, that it certainly does impact people's ability to succeed and function. Whether or not it's being abused, I think, is a different story, and that's something that certainly will engender debate.
Before you go
industry, go ahead.
Before you go on, I just want to point out that some folks are not just saying about that hat, wearing that hat at a dignified. Yes. What's called.
Go ahead and add the comments.
The dignified transfer is what it's called. So
yes,
that's very sad. And about these campus diagnoses and things like that. Have you heard this story, Sejal? This was went around the world, that in many places, especially starting with Stanford, if you don't want to use the college dining program, you can claim to be Jain, Jain, a member of the Jain sect or following Jainism, and therefore you can eat better because you'll be able to use your dining dollars outside at Whole Foods. And I know that this was being discussed. So what did you think of that story and this story as well?
Yeah, so I'm married to an academic, and so I hear some of these stories firsthand, not just from the university, that he's at, but others as well, right, in the community, and it's a tough one, right, where the where students who really do have ADHD, right, and really need the support, which I do agree with what Neil said, that in a way I used to always admire the fact that this country was providing these concessions where, when I was growing up in India, I don't think there were these concessions offered. And so I always appreciated the fact that that the needed concessions were offered. Unfortunately, like any system, this system, is probably also getting compromised, or and people are taking advantage of it, whether it is to get better food or to get more time on a test. And I hope there are ways to figure that out. But I absolutely did follow the giant food issue, and the fact that people were signing up for or claiming to be giants when they were not. But it's interesting. I'm always amazed by the creativity of the human mind
Human brain.
and the human brain, and what we will do for better food, right? So
Sejal, I'll just say you were saying that they didn't, address that or diagnose that in India back when you were
back then. Now I think it's
back
changed.
then.
Yeah.
But I was going to say that even for me, growing up in when I was in middle school, high school, is say in the '80s, it wasn't very well understood or prominent. My my discovery, as I said, I was diagnosed just a year and a half ago at 51, and look back at my career and my school education, and think back to all the times that everything that can be explained now. I have student evaluations from when I was in third grade that what the teacher wrote literally could have been taken out of an ADHD textbook. I mean, I read that now and oh my God, it's like, bright lights. This kid has ADHD. Do something to help, but no one really understood or knew what to do at the time.
Mm.
So even here. Let's move on. Other articles on the front page. Torrent of money transfers. Transforms a slice of Wyoming. The wealthiest has seen their wealth grow fastest, which is an interest. It's called the billionaire boom, and I haven't seen that kind of article in a while, Sri. The article's on the right. Parting industry offers the rich a path to Trump. And retiring move. Baby boomers picked New York. For years, people were retiring to Florida, but now apparently New York is the destination of choice.
I love that story because it highlights something about New York that people forget. The story, Sejal, if you haven't seen it yet, is that a lot of people who even lived in Florida are now moving back to New York or staying in New York because you can age in place, because you can walk around in New York. In Florida, if they take away your car, if you're in your 80s, 90s, they take away your car, what are you going to do? You can't get around. And so they will risk the extra cold and the slippery sidewalks and everything for the chance to kind of have a full life in New York City versus a perhaps more diminished life later on in there. So that's kind of interesting. You're too young to think about this, but have you thought about where you would retire, Sejal?
It's my South Asian genes. I'm actually almost eligible for senior discounts, just so you know, Sri. So I'm definitely 5 years over Neil's stated age. So I just to put that out there. But it's interesting. This topic actually came up at a dinner conversation last night. I was at a wedding, an Indian wedding here, and several of us who are now empty nesters and really thinking about where and how we might want to live our lives. Given that we all have sort of a U.S.-India background, or professionally, personally connected to different parts of the country. New York came up as a conversation theme, as well. This idea of and not just New York, but really just this idea of living in a in a high rise, in a walkable type environment, right, where everything you needed was 10-15 minutes away from you. Yeah, right, you just walk down to get a coffee, or your dry cleaner is right there, or otherwise. And so you can do that in Dallas too. And so we were sort of having these conversations about San Francisco, New York, Dallas, right? And so many people are beginning to think about this. Also, given that I work in the in a volunteer capacity in the senior space, aging in place is a really important conversation that is going on, and there's different ways in which you can do that, right, in the comfort of your own home. But otherwise, right, it's also choosing to be in environments that make it easy or easier for you to age in place as well. So very, very topical, and for me
Thank you for
personally,
that.
yeah.
Thank you for that
I'll
perspective. Stefan's watching and he says, late start today. Good morning, New York Times read along family. It's an hour that people have lost. I remember, Sejal, being a graduate student, and in the fall, when you gain an hour, it felt so good. And I said, we're going to regret this, aren't we, in March, when our big thesis films were due, our documentaries were due. And sure enough, it came that weekend where we needed that one more hour to finish our documentary, and we just didn't have it. So I hate the idea of changing the clock twice a year. I think it's a waste of time in this modern age to do that. It made sense when America was a farming country. It no longer is. Even our dog is affected by this, because she's used to a certain rhythm, and then she is confused when the hour goes back and forth like that. So one of the few things that I admire Marco Rubio for having done is introduce legislation to get rid of daylight saving, and so that's kind of fun. Alex says that some people, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead with Alex's comment.
Some people are avoiding Florida due to politics currently practiced there, not just for retirement, but also for vacations. But I still love Key West. I want to see Alex in a Margaritaville shirt, and hearing him sing some songs. I'm sure he would be good at that. Folks, we're talking about India Giving Day. We're talking about the news. Friday, March 13th is India Giving Day. 51 organizations have come together to support various philanthropies in India. And so please support where you can. Please get involved if you can. It's a very easy thing. Go to India Giving Day, and any money you give between now and then will be donated and counted towards India Giving Day. A very important opportunity for people around the world to support India. And we're doing a live show for 3 hours. Alex Counts is going to host it. He's of India Philanthropy Alliance, Manisha Bharti of Pratham USA, Neha Gupta of Teach for India. I'll be along for the ride as well. And look at these stars: Vijay Amritraj, M.R. Rangaswamy, Deepak Raj, Ishita Ganguly, India Giving Day ambassadors, youth leaders, and so much more, all brought to you by Parachute Donate. That's the main sponsor. There's so many things going on, but thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for watching here. We have someone watching from Sudha says, great show about giving. And we have Amy is watching and says hello.
Amy McIntyre.
Yeah. Amy
Hi,
McIntyre.
Amy. Thanks for joining us. I wanted to say, Sri, just before we move on the question of finding a retirement place, and with my mom's comment, of course, before Alex's very important comment about the politics in Florida, I know that Sejal, a number of Indian communities from the New York area have almost transplanted to Florida. In Tampa, there are whole subdivisions that are almost like Indian enclaves, and they've recreated that kind of community there. A number of people we knew from Westchester have moved down. I'm wondering whether you're seeing any of that in the Dallas area as well.
So, absolutely. So especially starting the pandemic, during the pandemic, there was a large wave of folks from New York, New Jersey, as well as California that have moved to Texas, to Austin and Dallas specifically. That has also led to a lot of conversations in the news, as well here in local politics as well. But no, absolutely. I think, Dallas that way is an incredible place from the perspective of, industry, diversity of work opportunities, cost of living, weather. And so there are a significant number of communities here that are India focused. Our food scene has clearly evolved over the last Indian food scene has clearly evolved over the last few years as well. But also, we were talking about Florida and retirement. There's several senior living centers that are also opening up here, focused on the Indian community as well. And so, you're seeing some of that shift in Dallas as well.
Thank you for that. Neil's flipping through the paper, and we're looking at various things there. He's going to talk through. Well, look at that ad for, what is that? Fizzy Up, Shelf Ready. Oh, it's an ad for the cardboard, I guess. The display.
Yeah.
Stuff, not the drink. Fizzy.
Yeah. It's hard to tell sometimes. It's interesting here. This is so with the news of Christine Nome being fired as the Secretary of Homeland Security. There was a reference to the Shield of the Americas, that he was going to appoint her to that, and it's a real thing. I didn't actually realize they unveiled a new military coalition to vanquish cartels. 17 countries.
There's so much news, you can't keep up with this. I
Right?
had no idea this was happening.
And I didn't either. 17 countries sign on as President Biden's anti-trafficking push. Really interesting. And I guess Christine Nome is going to be running that instead of the department. This other article, this is on for Rambler. Tasty Minerals, Crispy Bubbles, all American. So that might actually be an ad for soda. Rambling Sparkling Water is what that is. And actually, Sejal, it's their looks like their handle is at Rambler Austin. So it looks like it's a. Are you familiar with it? Is that a Texas? Is that Austin, Texas?
I'm not. Although yeah. So I'm not familiar with Rambler, but I will take a look at that for sure.
Yeah,
hey, there's a sponsorship opportunity. You go to them and say, sponsor us. We saw you in the New York Times.
Right. And here, just in terms of the ads, Sri, do you remember seeing an emoji in an ad before? I don't remember that.
Prominently. No, never so prominently.
Right?
That's all there is, right?
But that's a full page ad. That's amazing.
That's a full page ad. I'll try and pull it up even higher. You see a lot of white space.
For people who don't track, at least last time I checked, that's a $75,000 ad right there.
For a full page Sunday ad. That's pretty, and color too.
That's a lot of sodas, yeah.
So let's see here. Surfers seek lost wave in city far from the sea. This is actually in Germany, apparently. Surfers in the Englischer Garden in 2024. After a surfer died, Munich officials dredged the creek and the wave disappeared.
But wait a minute. Pause there. I was in Munich at that spot watching the surfers. It's an incredible thing. So
wow.
You're saying that's gone? Wow.
Well, apparently. So more of the captions, the pictures on top. Let me make sure it's lined up right. The surfers and engineers position a long metal beam that was intended to redirect the current and revive a standing wave in Munich. The mayor said that he wanted the surf back, but that it had to be done safely. And that's Sri's video of that same spot. Interesting. And then the other picture is examining the riverbed during an inspection. Right, about 250 people demonstrated to demand restoration of the wave. So that is interesting, Sri. And then when were you there?
Let me see. My Apple will tell me it was August 4, 2024. So this has happened very recently. And
that was in the same year, at least, as that picture was taken, 2024. Interesting. Very interesting. So I'm going to make this point, Sri. We talk about reading the print edition of the paper. We talk about the serendipity of just flipping the pages and finding an article. I'm assuming this is not an article you would have stumbled across in your feed, in the sections that you tap on your phone. But this is what we see when we look at the print edition. We turn the page and, oh my God, Munich, I was there.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yep. Paula is watching from Tallahassee. Paula, great producer on the show. We appreciate you always, Paula. Thank you for being with us. Folks, if you're just joining us, we have about 15 minutes left, but as soon as this is over, the show will restart on all these platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as on digimentors.group. And Neil's just looking at the front section now. He's then going to pick up the other section so we can see that and talk a little bit more.
And
before we go. Yeah.
We'll also, when the show is over, just a little bit, it'll take a little bit of about an hour or so, but we'll get the show up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well.
Very exciting. Very exciting. That's a new thing. Sejal, people have been asking for 10 years. They'd like to listen to the show while doing other things, not having to watch. And so we finally got to that. Where corn and soybeans rule, the oat mafia fights for turf. Wow, that sounds like a fun story. Really important to understand the farmer wars. Yeah, the
Byron, Minnesota. And that's another full page story. Again, that top picture and the full page devoted to that, which is interesting.
Darshana is watching from India, joining in after a long time. Hi, Darshana. Thanks for watching. And look at this lovely note. This is such a cool conversation and concept. Love it. Nothing better than reading the actual paper. So great to see everybody watching. Alex says, speaking of Dallas, IPA is planning a major philanthropy conference in Dallas in late September. The local Indian community is welcoming us.
Yes, we'd love to welcome everybody.
Yeah, stay tuned for details.
September 29th.
September 29th.
September 29th, mark your calendars, make a plan to come. It's going to be a great event. If you want to learn about philanthropy, and India, it's just going to be a wonderful gathering of people from around the country, but also right here in Dallas as well. So,
I look forward to coming and attending, but I bet at this moment, Sejal, you're not thinking of the September conference until Alex brought it up. You are focused on India Giving Day coming up on March 13th. There's so much happening there, and you're doing multiple events. So
we do have, I have to say though, we do have two steering teams working simultaneously, one on India Giving Day and the other on the September conference, because there's a lot to do there. But absolutely, India Giving Day is front and center right now. And I hope it is for everybody that's watching as well. IndiaGivingDay.org, while you have your phone in front of you, it's a good time to go make a quick donation as well. So
absolutely, everyone should do that. And Neil's flipping through the paper. He's going to pull out to the section so we can see that. We only have a few minutes left. We're going to give Sejal a chance to promote India Giving Day one more time, at least before we go. But share your questions, share your comments. This is such an important time. There's so much going on with the news. Neil, what is that enormous spread that we're looking at? This is I
was going to point out, it's a Wyoming story from the front page about torrent of money transforms a slice of Wyoming, billionaire boom, a new frontier. And when I opened it up, I had no idea that they would give not just 2 pages inside, but it looks like it's a full four pages inside with a full. No one will pay them the $150,000 a year or more they need to live comfortably here. Interesting. Founder of the Wyoming Immigrant Advocacy Project, referring to immigrant workers. So it looks like Wyoming is starting to become a hotspot. And then this inside, the next piece, ultra wealthy flex their influence in a mountain retreat. So that's definitely an interesting story to look at, Sari. Nonprofits can't be the solution. They're funded by the rich, so the rich dictate who gets served. That's an interesting commentary. We sell hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate every day, and it's not taxed. So that's what's going on in Wyoming. One thing that I'll just point out real quickly, Sri, in New York, when you get the paper, obviously you're not in New York right now, but the New York printing plant, College Point, that Sri and I have both toured, can print a 40-page section. This is 36 pages today. But the New York Times is printed at 20 printing plants around the country. That's how I get the paper in Washington, D.C., and people get it in Los Angeles and Minnesota and Seattle, etc. But those printing plants can't print the full section that the New York Times can. So you'll often get a second section for the front page, and these articles get a little bit more prominence because of that. It also explains the earlier deadlines, the print deadlines, since the New York Times has to be printed elsewhere, they have to send the PDF of the paper, not the PDF, I'm sure they use better software than that, to the printing plant for their turn on the press. So the deadline is even earlier for the Sunday paper, and daily papers as well.
We have about 10 minutes left. Neil's flipping through the paper. He's going to look through the different sections, and then we're going to come to Sejal and say goodbye. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Neil, what's on the cover of Arts and Leisure?
Two artists bonded by blood and regret. Andrea Fraser suspects that her mother, Carmen de Monteflores, sacrificed her own career to raise children. Can the Whitney Biennial help make amends? That's an interesting family story in art. If I hold this unconscious conviction, this is the caption, that I destroyed my mother's creativity, Andrea Fraser Wright says of Carmen de Monteflores, then this latest effort is about trying to repair things decades later. So that's the cover story for Arts and Leisure. Sunday Opinion, this is about Trump's reckless war. The president's fantasies of American power have put us all in danger. True change in Iran will come from within, by Reza Aslan. The first one was by Lydia Palgreen. And we have Sunday Business. This is a portrait. He's the tech guy making America's weapons. Palmer Luckey, the Hawaiian shirt-wearing founder of the startup Enduril, if I'm pronouncing that right, has become a player in modernizing the U.S. military. That's almost like a Soviet propaganda poster, and I'm sure I assume that's intentional.
Just say that guy Lucky Palmer is the one who created the those 3D immersive glasses that the environment where you wear those on your face, and
the VR, yeah.
And then from that he has gone on to become a very powerful arms merchant, really. And when he started, he was very young when he became so successful in the tech space, and now focused on drones and doing that. We have folks watching from everywhere, including, I see Terry is with us, watching from Las Vegas. Terry, thank you for being here.
Terry Ann Thompson. Hey, Terry.
We appreciate you being with us. And Wan Ha's comment is just so good. I want to bring it up again. This is such a cool conversation and concept. Love it. Nothing better than reading the actual newspaper. And that's what we're seeing Neil do here.
And we do this.
What is your relationship with newspapers? Do you still get one? Is it all online? How are you with the news?
Was that question for me? Sorry.
Yeah.
No, so we do get the New York Times, and then on Wednesdays we get our local Dallas Morning News, paper as well. I have to say, just the way life is, a lot of my news does get consumed online, though, unfortunately, and through late night comedy shows. Somehow these days, that's the best way I like to consume the news, because it's bringing some humor in. But anyway, yeah.
But here, just to show you that I'm with you, that we don't always get to read what we subscribe to. This is my New Yorker collection. This is what I take when I travel, so that I can have things to read. They're almost timeless, as you know, evergreens. I also have some of my New York Times sections that I've been wanting to read. I carry them with me on the planes so that I can read them. This was a big section on health, remaking America. This was, Neil, a very important.
A couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Section, and to have that, so we subscribe. And by the way, we want to remind everyone, this is not about the New York Times. This is about fighting disinformation, misinformation, having you subscribe to any newspaper, the Dallas Morning News, your local paper, wherever you are in the world. It will make a difference, and we want you to continue to do that. We have just a couple of minutes left, so Neil, take us through the headlines on the pages, and then we'll go to Sejal.
We have a special section on design in the New York Times, and this is endangered design, why many buildings, objects, and techniques across the world are hanging on for dear life. So that certainly would be interesting, particularly anyone interested in architecture. The book review, the cover is Lost and Found in Tayari Jones's new book, Kin, two motherless girls embark on lifelong journeys to find the family they've always yearned for. New York Times Magazine, America's Secret Veterans. They fought for the CIA in Afghanistan. Now 10,000 former zero-unit soldiers are in the United States and living in fear. And that's a very stark cover in terms of the dark and the shadows. Always a good job. And then Sri, our favorite section that we never read, that we never pay any attention to, unfortunately, is T Magazine again. How did another 4 weeks go by? We talked about this just recently, that we never read the T Magazine.
Yeah.
But this is Sharp or Luch, I guess, men's fashion that gets to have it both ways, double duty. So this is all about men's fashion. I'm sure that you and I are probably featured in here, I think, right? Somewhere.
What not to do.
What not to do, exactly. But that is the paper. I do want to make just one comment, Street, to the person you had put up the comment earlier, who from YouTube. Someone really appreciated. This is such a cool concept. We are live every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time doing this. We've done this for 10 years. We review the paper and we comment on the news, on the graphic design, on the layout, and also shared the breaking news. Big Take Asia. What's that, Sri?
Yeah, Big Take Asia. That's Juan Ha, whose comment you just put up is the host of Big Take Asia, a very important podcast here in Asia that's also obviously available all over the world. Big Take is Bloomberg's big podcast series. It's a daily show, and then she does once a week a show here out of Asia called Big Take Asia. So I recommend everyone who's interested catch Big Take Asia to understand what's happening in this part of the world. Neil, you did a great job with the paper. I know it's not easy to stand up with your camera and then keep an eye on what's happening here. Neil produces this in this beautiful way, Sejal, and that's what we're going to be doing on the read along with Alex hosting, and we have our colleague Christian is going to be running the show, and this is all in our interest to make sure that India Giving Day shines on Friday, March 13th. Everybody, please join us as we celebrate India Giving Day. 51 organizations coming together to raise funds for Indian charities, Indian causes, every cause you can think of, hosted by Alex Counts of the India Philanthropy Alliance, Manisha Bharti of Pratham USA, Neha Gupta of Teach for India, and some guy coming in from Digimentors. Special guests, Vijay Amritraj, M.R. Rangaswamy, Deepak Raj, Ishita Ganguly, India Giving Day ambassadors, youth leaders, and more, all brought to you by Parachute Donate, March 13th, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you are anyone who's interested in philanthropy, whether to India or not, you want to see how we pull that together. And the amount of money raised makes a material difference in the lives of hundreds of millions of Indians. And so you will want to participate. If you can, indiagivingday.org, indiagivingday.org. Please join us. Please support if you can. And any money raised in the 2 weeks before March 13th counts towards India Giving Day. So, Sejal, this is a great opportunity for everyone to support and participate. We're almost out of time, Sejal. We're going to give you the last word, pull you on camera, and then we will say goodbye with a couple of final comments we will read. So over to you, Sejal.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I'd like to do a separate shout out also for Manisha Bharti and Neha Gupta, both of them incredible women leaders in the nonprofit sector, in leading Pratham and Teach for India respectively. Both of those organizations are exceptional education nonprofits doing incredible work on the ground. But there are 51 other organizations as well in multiple different sectors that I really urge you to take a look at. And as we were reflecting on sort of the news, at a time when the world feels uncertain and chaotic, participating in India Giving Day is a reminder that individual action still matters, right? It allows people to move from feeling overwhelmed by global problems to doing something concrete and hopeful. giving alongside thousands of others, right, can create a sense of shared purpose and optimism. And your gift may support one organization, but your participation strengthens an entire movement of people working towards a better future. And so, I always believe that giving is one of the most powerful ways to reclaim agency and hope. And I hope you will do that through India Giving Day. And again, as I mentioned earlier, giving any amount is absolutely welcome. So whether it's $5 or $50,000, your generosity will make a big difference in these days leading up to India Giving Day. And so please find a nonprofit of your choice, or your passion, or give to as many nonprofits as you like. All of it is welcome. But indiagivingday.org. Thank you so much, Shri and Neil, for having me on this show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Alex says you can become a peer-to-peer fundraiser for any of the 51 charities part of India Giving Day. For example, I'm raising money for Grameen Foundation's work in India. So this will count towards the amount of money that's being raised. And that's why you can get your own your customized, personalized code so that you can keep track. And there's fun prizes being raised for different organizations. There's so much going on that day, and we're very excited that that's happening. And you also pointed out that you can give to an overall bucket, and then that'll be distributed. Remind us about how they can do that.
Yeah, it's called India Development Fund. You can find it on the indiagivingday.org website. And it's really easy to just make one donation there. It'll get spread out across multiple organizations. So, and the best way, you can see the search button there. That's a nice, simple way to go find the nonprofits of your choice, if you already know who you want to give to, or you can click support a cause, and all the nonprofits are listed under each of the different causes that are mentioned. But whether you like the environment or education or hunger or community development, there are so many different nonprofits doing great work. So please do consider it. And to Alex's point, peer-to-peer fundraisers, take 10 seconds to set up on the website, and we have so many youth that are participating to do this. So if you have a high schooler or a college going student or a young professional, this is an incredible way to do this, as well, and be part of all the action. So and it is #Power of Us, and so please join in and become part of that power behind India Giving Day.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Should know I'm right now on your page of Akanksha and making a donation.
Oh,
it's so
thank you.
easy. I wanted to show people that you can do it while you're talking, and that's what I'm doing right now. Just go to indiagivingday.org, folks, and you make a $5 donation. Though they would love that. They'd also love any more that you can give. It'll all make a difference. And I've got to tell you, Sejal, that I remember watching, of all things, Coming to America. And there's a scene when they're fundraising in a church. I don't know if you remember this. And she says, while we appreciate the money that jingles, we like the kind that folds. And that was the fundraising they were doing there in that scene. So I remember that from 30 years ago, 35 years ago now. And the main thing is we want to see participation. That's the thing. It's not the amount of money, but it's the fact that you're giving of your heart and you're giving what you can. Thank you so much. Ona says thank you for the shout out. Ron Thomas says, I have ChatGPT to summarize all of my articles that I want to read when I travel. That is my newspaper that I read on my flights. How interesting. That's very smart. This is a guy whose miles I want. Ron, you got to tell us how many miles you travel a year, probably 1 million miles a year. Darshana says, 10 years, oh my, I remember the deliciousness of the first year because I just moved back to India and missed reading the Sunday New York Times. Darshana, thank you so much. Yep, the 10 years have flown by. Sudha says that I'm proud that you're producing the India Giving Day show that's coming up. Terry says, God loves a cheerful giver. What a great line. We're learning from great lines. Mid-career midlife clarity was what Sejal said that she has. Meenakshi is sharing the links to the India Development Fund. Stefan says, we can't do everything in this world, but we all can do something. Helping others is the way. These are all bumper stickers we should be using on the show on Friday. Here's the Development Fund. And Peg says, thank you. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for being part of the show. Neil, back to you. And Sejal, thank you very much for being with us. We really appreciate it. We'll give
Thank
you
you for
a
having me,
chance
and
to
I'll
say
see
bye.
you on Friday again, I guess. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Sejal. Sri, that was a great conversation with Sejal Desai, learning all about India Giving Day. And I think one thing we hadn't thought about, Sri, is we could use this show to crowdsource marketing ideas for various groups. I mean, we have several great taglines that they can choose from. So to our friends at the India Giving Day and India Philanthropy Alliance, feel free to pick and choose which one of these might work. Meenakshi says thank you to everyone as well. I do want to point out, Sri, and say I know that for next week, we're not sure what we're going to be doing in terms of the show. You might be able to do it as an Instagram live show, but we don't know your travel plans yet in terms of
I'm supposed to be teaching in Istanbul, which is right now part of the war zone, unfortunately. So we pray for everybody in that area. If I can go there, I'll do it there. Otherwise, I have a couple of other invitations now that people have heard that I may not be able to make it to Istanbul. The invitations from a couple of other places. But every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, folks, please check out this Sunday New York Times Read Along. We're grateful to everyone who's watching. And thank you, and have a good Sunday. My Sunday is ending here in Hong Kong. Neil is in DC, just starting his day.
Absolutely. And as a reminder for folks, India Giving Day is going to be on Friday, March 13th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope you get a chance to watch and to donate. Thank you for joining us this morning, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.